Life in the UK Test. Chapter 3. Section 6. Part 3. Disclaimer. This work is independent and non-official. It is a free help based on life in the United Kingdom, a guide for new residents, 3rd edition handbook. December 2015. Chapter 3. Section 6. Part 3. Britain since 1945. Conservative government from 1979 to 1997. Margaret Thatcher, 1925 to 2013. Roald Dahl, 1916 to 1990. Labour government from 1997 to 2010. Conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. Coalition government 2010 onwards. Conservative government from 1979 to 1997. Margaret Thatcher, Britain's first woman Prime Minister, led the Conservative government from 1979 to 1990. The government made structural changes to the economy through the privatisation of nationalised industries and imposed legal controls on trade union powers. Deregulation saw a great increase in the role of the City of London as an international centre for investments, insurance and other financial services. Traditional industries, such as shipbuilding and coal mining, declined. In 1982, Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, a British overseas territory in the South Atlantic. A naval task force was sent from the UK and military action led to the recovery of the islands. John Major was Prime Minister after Mrs. Thatcher, and helped establish the Northern Ireland peace process. Margaret Thatcher, 1925 to 2013. Margaret Thatcher was the daughter of a grocer from Grantham in Lincolnshire. She trained as a chemist and lawyer. She was elected as a Conservative MP in 1959 and became a cabinet minister in 1970 as the Secretary of State for Education and Science. In 1975 she was elected as leader of the Conservative Party and so became leader of the opposition. Margaret Thatcher was the first female Prime Minister of the UK. Following the Conservative victory in the general election in 1979, Margaret Thatcher became the first woman Prime Minister of the UK. She was the longest-serving Prime Minister of the 20th century, remaining in office until 1990. During her premiership, there were a number of important economic reforms within the UK. She worked closely with the United States President, Ronald Reagan, and was one of the first Western leaders to recognize and welcome the changes in the leadership of the Soviet Union which eventually led to the end of the Cold War. Roald Dahl, 1916 to 1990. Roald Dahl was born in Wales to Norwegian parents. He served in the Royal Air Force during the Second World War. It was during the 1940s that he began to publish books and short stories. He is most well known for his children's books, although he also wrote for adults. His best-known works include Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and George's Marvelous Medicine. Several of his books have been made into films. Labour government from 1997 to 2010. In 1997 the Labour Party led by Tony Blair was elected. The Blair government introduced a Scottish Parliament and a Welsh Assembly. The Scottish Parliament has substantial powers to legislate. The Welsh Assembly was given fewer legislative powers but considerable control over public services. In Northern Ireland, the Blair government was able to build on the peace process, resulting in the Good Friday Agreement signed in 1998. The Northern Ireland Assembly was elected in 1999 but suspended in 2002. It was not reinstated until 2007. Most paramilitary groups in Northern Ireland have decommissioned their arms and are inactive. Gordon Brown took over as Prime Minister in 2007. Conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. Throughout the 1990s, Britain played a leading role in coalition forces involved in the liberation of Kuwait. following the Iraqi invasion in 1990, and the conflict in the former Republic of Yugoslavia. Since 2000, British armed forces have been engaged in the global fight against international terrorism and against the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, including operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. British combat troops left Iraq in 2009. The UK now operates in Afghanistan as part of the United Nations, mandated 50-nation International Security Assistance Force coalition, and at the invitation of the Afghan government. ISAF is working to ensure that Afghan territory can never again be used as a safe haven for international terrorism, where groups such as Al-Qaeda could plan attacks on the international community. As part of this, ISAF is building up the Afghan National Security Forces and is helping to create a secure environment, in which governance and development can be extended. International forces are gradually handing over responsibility for security to the Afghans, who will have full security responsibility in all provinces by the end of 2014. Coalition government 2010 onwards. In May 2010, and for the first time in the UK since February 1974, no political party won an overall majority in the general election. The Conservative and Liberal Democrat parties formed a coalition, and the leader of the Conservative Party, David Cameron, became Prime Minister. Study materials. All chapters from the study materials are Crown copyright and have been based on Life in the United Kingdom, a guide for new residents 3rd edition handbook. All photos are borrowed from wikipedia.org under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 3.0 unported. This work is independent and non-official, prepared in December 2015.